On today's show, Jason Kidd could be gone from the Dallas Mavericks. Is the Knicks job really that much more appealing? We'll tell you on today's Locked On Mavs.
Stop it! Stop! The number one pick will go to the Dallas Mavericks. Cooper Flagg will fly in Dallas.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs, your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave you.
Your team every day.
I'm gonna get a city like that.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen. Joining me, as always, my co-host, media member, best friend covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years, right alongside me, the kid crony, the one more thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Guys, I just want to say right off the top, I'm very close to having a soundboard. I have it.
Tried so hard.
I have it in my possession. I just got to get it all working properly. And then I'm going to have my own drops. Y'all are not ready for what I break out for drops.
He's not. Nobody's ready. Nobody's really ready for that. He's not. Today's episode, we're going to get into the Knicks. They fired Tom Thibodeau. Surprise move. What does that mean for the Knicks? What does it mean for Jason Kidd and all that? And we got some hot takes. NBA hot takes. Isaac and I are going to be throwing back and forth at each other and deciding if they're hot or not. And so we'll get into that. It's summer, right? So hot or not, that's all we do in there.
It's always hot.
But let's start here. Do you remember in 2020 who one of the leading candidates was for the Knicks job to be the head coach?
Christian Wood.
It was one Jason Alexander Kidd. I don't know if that's his middle name. It sounded right. It sounded right at the time. And shout out to Costanza. Jason Kidd was the candidate there. They were interested in Jason Kidd, bringing him in and doing all that. They decided not to. They went a different direction. Went for Tom Thibodeau. And now Tom Thibodeau is fired after making the Eastern Conference Finals, which is kind of farther than anybody thought the Knicks were going to make. And that is an interesting move in and of itself. But for the Mavericks side of it, for Jason Kidd, I don't think there's any chance that he leaves, because now you're in it. You got your guy, Anthony Davis. You've got Kyrie, who you love, who Kyrie's favorite player growing up was Jason Kidd. You got that connection there. And then you just got the number one pick. You have a chance to hitch your wagon to Cooper Flagg for the next, 5, 6, 7 years and run that next timeline too. If you're Jason Kidd as the coach, if you become Cooper Flagg's coach, you know what I mean? And he backs you and all that stuff. By the time Cooper Flagg becomes a star, then he's the one saying, hey, we got to keep Jason Kidd and sticking up for you and all that kind of stuff. And so to me, this is an appealing job for the Mavericks. Now, it wasn't probably like a month and a half ago, except for the Anthony Davis connection and Kyrie still. But now with Cooper Flagg, I just don't see a way where Jason Kidd leaves for the Knicks as that, like that being the option.
Yeah, I'll take the opposite. I think if I'm him, I'm going.
We plan this?
I think he goes. Yeah, I think he takes it and he pulls a Rick Carlisle. He looks at greener grass on the other side. He reads the writing on the wall ahead of time and is like, hey, I might be on the hot seat. If all of this really does go up in flames, then I'm going to be the first one before Nico. The ownership group that hired Nico and Jason Kidd was not the Dumonts. Like Jason Kidd was a Mark Cuban hire with Dirk and the rest of the crew there and Casey Smith and all those guys. And obviously it was a package deal with Nico, but also like, what's the future of Nico? I mean, you just watched your boss get chanted for in your own arena for him to lose his job. So, is some switch up of your boss, the guy who hired you as a package deal, if that ever happens, like you're worried then. And I just think the Knicks is a better situation. You get to go to the East. He's also not an old coach. It's not like he's, one of the oldest coaches in the league. So what would I be looking for right now? And I'll just throw it out there.
You're going to look up job security with the New York Knicks? That's the place where you're going to look for job security?
At least the structure of everything.
Do you?
Leon Rose is there and Wes and like James Dolan's the owner and like all the stuff. So
Jason
it's like
Kidd, current agent is okay. It's not CA.
I'm just looking at it and saying, what's more likelihood you getting fired after next season or in the middle of next year? Dallas, or if you took the New York job this summer? Dallas. Like if you took the New York job this summer, you're going to the East, you have a good roster, and you're probably locked in there for at least 3 years. Like you would get a 4 or 5 year deal, but like you would at least get multiple years. I mean, what would you be shocked if Kidd's fired before the trade deadline in Dallas this season? I wouldn't be shocked. And I'll just like throw it out there as a reminder. It has been kind of whispered out there that Kidd is looking around. Like there is a chance that Jason Kidd might not come back. He is keeping his eye open to better situations because shocking, it hasn't been the most like foundational strong situation in Dallas over the past 6 months. So I wouldn't blame him. And I also wouldn't be crying either.
Yeah, we have heard this. We have heard these rumblings that Jason Kidd is keeping his eyes on some other opportunities, or that he's just like, all right, let me just see what's out there, and that he's not necessarily tied to this. He's not hitching his wagon saying, all right, it's Mavericks or die, or Mavericks or bust here.
Well, he's always been an opportunistic guy, right? Like, I mean, you go back to the Brooklyn stuff and Milwaukee. I mean, he's always looking at that next situation.
I mean, don't cry over a spilled Coke, like, you know.
Well, can I get more power here, or going to Milwaukee to, see Giannis and all of that?
Are you saying he knew about the Luka trade? Are you saying that?
I mean, he did get his way. No.
Come on.
I honestly think if New York reached out and was interested, I would honestly be pretty surprised if he just said no.
It depends on how he thinks of that job. He did also play there. He played for the Mavericks, obviously, and won a title for the Mavericks, but he played for the Knicks. And so maybe that's something that he holds at high esteem. There's some people around the league that still look at that, like Knicks and Madison Square Garden and all that, the legacy of that, and hold it to like such a high esteem that it's like, oh, like JJ Redick with the Lakers. He goes, it's the Lakers. I've got to take that job. You know what I mean? And to a lesser extent, some people look at the Knicks that way. I don't know if Jason Kidd does look at it that way. If he does, then I guess you're right. And maybe he does think that this time has run out. And he looked pretty exhausted by the end of this season. I mean, this was a tough season for everybody, and I think they handled it all pretty well, at least on the team side. The specific team and coaching staff handled it well. But that was a lot to go through. And for Kidd, whether he knew it was coming or not, he definitely didn't know the timing, right? Like I believe that part of it. I don't think he knew.
I don't think he knew that night. I'll just say that.
Okay.
Until the 11th hour.
And then it comes at it, and then all of a sudden it comes out, the trade happens, and the whole thing goes completely off the walls. And then the injuries happen, makes it even worse. And it became a real tiring season. And now you have this new ownership group, and maybe you're right. But I still think the Mavs are a job that I would want to keep with Cooper Flagg there. And
what's the stability that he's holding on to? Cuban's gone. Dirk, nothing to do with the Mavs right now for the most part. Casey Smith.
He was a
Casey
finals.
Smith gone.
Okay,
like,
here's the stability.
Luka gone.
Unless Nico is going to fire him, which could happen. You think about, all right, who are the people that could fire him? Nico, like maybe, okay. Yeah. Maybe Nico turns him into a scapegoat at a certain point in next season, like you're saying. But then Dumont, they just gave Nico Harrison another chance. And are like saying, okay, you can keep your job. So it's not like they're going to get rid of Jason Kidd anytime soon, because they're going to give him credit for going to the finals. You're a finals coaching head coach. And so I think they'd give him another chance no matter like what happens the next couple of seasons. And so at least you know the ownership is probably going to.
So no, you think if Kidd stays, no matter what happens over the next 2 years, he's still here?
I think Nico could make it happen for sure, but I don't think it's coming down from ownership. Like, all right, we got to make a change. And then Kidd is gone.
Yeah. I predict he goes. He takes it. Unless they want to go, which I haven't heard anything about. Hey, Knicks is, for sure. Well, I mean, there's different Frank Isola, different people on Twitter talking about that in the Knicks media sphere. Yeah. But I haven't heard anything officially connecting the two. But if it was on the table, I think he would take it, and I'd be surprised if he didn't.
Even those dumb sites that have the odds for like the next coach of this team, didn't have Jason Kidd on it.
Yeah,
the non-FanDuel ones, the dumb ones that we don't care about. We also should mention Jalen Brunson. Kidd was the coach in 2022 when they went to the Western Conference Finals with Jalen Brunson, and so there is a connection there. I don't remember much about Brunson mentioning Kidd, but I mean, that worked out really well for Brunson. And so maybe that's,
I have no clue about their relationship.
Maybe that's a connection too.
Would Jason Kidd keep Rick Brunson on staff? Coming up next.
Can the Knicks hire Jason Kidd's dad to be part of their staff in order to lure him away? I've got a hot take about the Knicks, and I've also got hot takes about other things. That's what we're going to do. We're going to have some fun coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by BetterHelp. I say this every time. It's so true. It becomes more true every single day. But everybody has things in their life you need to talk through, that you need to just work through. Sometimes it's a cough, and sometimes it's physical. Sometimes it's something that is mental or psychological. You need to talk about, and especially for men too. This men's mental health. Isaac is dying in the background. Sometimes you need to talk through things, and you don't have a friend that you can call. Sometimes you need somebody that can be unbiased, that you can talk to, and you can schedule a time. The scheduling helps a lot to have something structured, especially if you're dealing with depression. Every year, 6 million men in the U.S. experience depression and may go undiagnosed. Talking to somebody, a friend, a loved one, or a therapist can make a huge difference. All that said, as the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can help provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. It's simple, and it's not as intimidating as it sounds. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. Best way to support the show, help us grow the show. Subscribe to the text line, 214-643-8637. You get a couple weeks free, and then after that, you're supporting the show, helping support what Isaac and I do on the show every single day, and you get text alerts on every Mavs rumor that shows up, and news updates, game previews, Q&As, all kinds of stuff like that. Check the links in the description. Again, 214-643-8637 on that. All right, Isaac, we're talking about the Knicks job. My first hot take, when we were starting to go through hot takes, I think the Knicks got this wrong.
Oh.
I don't think it was Thibodeau's fault that they made it as far as they were going to make it. Why do coaches get fired when the team goes farther than people think they were going to go? And it's like, oh, you missed an opportunity. You could have beaten the Pacers were just a bad matchup for them. Did the Mavericks did Jason Kidd get fired after they couldn't beat the Celtics? It's like, no, they made another choice about that. But
I mean, Luka got traded after the finals, so
right. So that was the choice they made. But I just don't think that it was Tibbs' fault at the end of the day. Could there have been things he did differently? Are the Locked On Knicks guys excited about it today and happy about it today? Yes. As I was texting them, they were very excited about this. But I just don't think it was his fault. I think it was the roster.
My favorite thing from the Leon Rose statement of Tibbs being fired is our singular focus right now is winning a title. It's like, was it not last year? Or like, is that just like a new
apparently
goal?
It was last year and they didn't do it. And so they're like, all right, we got to make a big change here.
Yeah, it feels like there's something behind the scenes there with it. Because if you just go off like wins and like,
think you wore him out. Like, and he wore him out to the point where he didn't the Tibbs thing.
He wore the fans out. He wore the players.
the Kenny Smith joke was that Tibbs wouldn't play 9 players in a baseball game, right? Which remains true about him, and he just ran out of guys by the end of it.
Mikal Bridges is like, I can't play 47 minutes a game again.
Apparently not. But Mikal Bridges and OG just didn't give them enough, and maybe it's because they were out of gas by the end of it. But I don't know. Like, they also just didn't. Like who you're playing? He was playing DeLon Wright and Campaign by the end of it, and you're like, okay, these are our options.
Yeah,
I think they got it over.
You just want to popcorn back and forth here?
Yeah, but you just go back and forth. No rhyme or reason.
All right, sweet. Let's have fun. Hot take on my side. I thought the TNT goodbye was dumb. I don't care anything. I thought all of it was like, am I crazy right now? We're going to see these people again on a different network. Who freaking cares about networks?
I watched Charles Barkley today on Dan Patrick. They're going to be on TNT still. They're going to have some kind of show on TNT too. They're going to be both on ESPN and on TNT. Like, what is the, what were we grieving?
I don't know.
No,
And
I don't
I'm
get
like,
it either.
did all of y'all stay up every night to watch this post game, or you just saw a clip too that happened after like a game on social media, and you're like, funny clip? I enjoyed a lot of it. I did.
Yeah.
I thought the player bashing and stuff got a little too far sometimes. Like, hey, everybody sucked, but it's like
The JaVale stuff was insane a couple years ago.
I just didn't understand because it felt like it started over a year ago, and then it's like, no, we have another year to do the farewell tour, and then it's like, bye. Oh, we're saying goodbye. It's like, are we never going to see Ernie Johnson ever again in life? But it's like, no, we're going to see these people do the same thing next year.
They're not even leaving their studio. They're staying in Atlanta. It's not like they're even moving to ESPN
Anyway,
or anything.
I just thought I was kind of crazy. I mean, it was you would thought, like, I thought it was like a memoriam here of what was happening. I was like, I don't understand this. Okay, it doesn't have a TNT logo on the desk.
Yeah. The
Anyway.
one thing that got me was Ernie Johnson's like real touching thing to the staff and everybody in their green room about, hey, this is the last one we're doing here. It's just going to be different for us. But they're all still going to do the job. And even Charles Barkley said on that interview, he's got 7 years left on his contract, but he's only going to work for 2 more years. So, but he's
Barkley's
been saying
retired like 4 times.
He's been saying that for years and years. But yeah, I'm with you that I didn't get why that was such a big deal, because we're going to see him again. Yeah. And yeah, maybe they'll shove Kendrick Perkins in there every once in a while, and Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee and whoever else. But
anyway, all right, that was my first one.
That's a great one. All right, I'm gonna start with my one I feel the most confident about. I think the Rockets this year are the worst number 2 in the West we've ever seen.
Oh my gosh, hater!
You start going through. Okay, they only won 52 games, because it was so close all throughout it. And so it's kind of just they won a couple more games than some of these other teams. But they also lost in the first round to a team that got destroyed the next round. The Lakers got destroyed by the Timberwolves. Or they beat the Warriors, and the Warriors got beat. You look at the number 2 teams we've had. Denver last year, 57 wins. They lost in the second round to the Timberwolves, but still Denver. The next two, 2023 and 2022, are the ones you could convince me. Memphis went 51-31. They lost in the first round in 2023, but they had some injuries. They lost Steven Adams, who was super big for their team. All their guys were super young. That's the one team you could convince me is worse maybe than this Rockets team. Okay. Then you had Memphis in 2022. They won 56 games, lost in the second round. They at least won a round. And then you start going through the number 2s in the West. Before that, it's the Phoenix that went to the finals, that Clippers team in 2020 that beat the Mavericks that everybody was saying should win the finals. Denver in 2019, the Warriors in 2018 who ended up going and winning, and they won 58 games. The Spurs in 17 and 16 won 61 and 67 games, like dominant teams then. And you had Houston 2015 with Harden, OKC in 2014 with KD and Westbrook. 2013 Spurs, who I think won the title that year, went to the finals. Was that the Ray Allen shot season? Mm-hmm. OKC in 2012 went to the finals. The Lakers in 2011, that's the one the Mavs swept, but that was with Kobe and Powell and all that. Dallas in 2010, they won 55 games. Then you had Denver in 2009. They only won 54 games, but they lost in the Western Conference Finals. Like, you start going, the Suns in 2007, 61 wins. The Lakers in 2004 lost the finals. Lakers in 2020 or in 2001 were champions. Like, you just start going through and you're like, man, I think that may have been the worst number 2 in the West we've seen. And I just went back to 2000.
So worst one in the past 25 years.
Yeah.
You know, something I'm not ready for, and I feel like we're going to get it for sure, is if the finals start, OKC like just obliterates Indiana, let's say 5 games or 4 games, and everybody does that. Indiana was like the worst finals team we've seen in the century.
Well, you can say the same about the Mavs if that's the case. The Mavs got beat last year.
No, I just feel like some people are going to like do that with Indiana, and it's going to be more about OKC winning instead of because Indiana's the low hanging fruit. They don't have like the top 5 player and all the stuff on their team, to where it's just we're going to look back and be like, Indiana was one of the worst final teams we've seen in a long time. It's like, no, OKC was just really good. Somebody's going to do that.
Well, a lot of Celtics fans did that at the end, and we were like, no, you want the Mavs to be good because that means you won a good finals. Like, you don't put down the team that you just beat because it makes you look worse.
Yes. Yeah.
But anyway, the Rockets, very bad number 2 overall in the West. One of the worst we've ever seen.
Okay, I've talked about this on other pods we've done before, but hot take. I think Giannis goes to Miami. We're
gonna talk about that and more coming up.
Oh, you have a Giannis one. We're not even at 22 minutes yet. Don't. Let me do my. Okay, we got 2 minutes left. I'll save the Giannis one. OKC is not going to be a dynasty.
Yeah, that's easy. Not even hot.
But here's the thing. I just feel like so many people have already penciled him in. I saw something where I think it was Rick Bucher said that if SGA wins the title, he's a top 5 point guard of all time. But people have already started talking about OKC as like, dude, they got the decade, man. If you, and I get
Patrick Beverley said the same thing about the Clippers. So,
well, like I get not wanting to go to the West for certain like coaching or big time players or something. Like right now, it's like, oh, the East is like, but I wouldn't like not go to the West because, hey, you got OKC for the next 10 years. Because as anything will tell you, you don't know what's going to happen. Like you don't know. I mean, not just injuries, but you're going to tell me all of these young players are going to be bought into the role that they're playing now, 5 years from now, that they're not going to look at me like, dude, I could be an alpha. Look what SGA is getting right now.
I mean, how many times can Lou Dort like do a cartwheel on the court before he gets hurt?
After a screen, just going over a screen. It's just wells out. And
you guys are still salty. Yeah, we are.
I just think we need to slow down on OKC some. I think it's cool for the small markets. They're probably going to win this year. They could win next year and stuff. But the people that's already like penciling them in for, dude, this could be an all-time team just because they have young players that are good and like their books and they have picks and stuff coming up. That doesn't guarantee you that you're going to be in the finals for the next 8 years.
They're set up really well, but we're also just not used to seeing what we've seen. We've had 7 different champions in the last 7 years. That's literally never happened in the NBA. We're used to these teams like the Warriors, the Cavs, the Heat, the Spurs, we're used to these teams that just over and over again show up in the finals and start a dynasty, but it's so much harder to sustain one right now. And they seem to be the team best set up to do it, but you got to win it at least once first. Yeah. And then go from there. Coming up, where's Giannis going? Isaac thinks he's staying in the East. I think he might go to the West. Talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Open Phone. If you're a small business owner, you're juggling too much. There's too many things going on, too much stuff, too many different people to try and contact, too many people to try and catch what they're saying to you, and you don't want to miss a client ever. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or your computer. I got to be able to, I'm not really a small business owner, but I got this show and I got to be able to pass things back and forth between desktop, laptop, iPad, phone. And I love that you can use it on different kinds of apps. The shared inbox is also a game changer. A team can jump in on a conversation instantly without missing a beat. Gotta love that. Open Phone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's openphone, openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. If you have existing numbers with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac, we're talking about hot takes. Going full scorched earth hot takes on this. You mentioned you think Giannis is going to stay in the East. I think he goes West, and I think the West becomes even harder. And I think he goes to the Spurs or the Rockets.
Because of no state taxes?
He was very interested in the no state taxes, but I just think that it would just be such a Mavericks thing for the Mavs to finally get the #1, to lose Luka, get the #1 pick, and then Giannis is in the West in the same state. We'd be like, oh,
that would suck. I mean, I can't even like comprehend a Giannis Wemby front court, so that just sounds impossible. The Houston stuff is.
You ever had Greek French fusion food? Like, what would that even be like?
I don't. Houston, I don't know. Like they would have to like kind of reshape which you do it for a guy like Giannis, but that would be crazy though. If defensively you have Giannis, Amen and stuff. I just think he goes to Miami. I think we're gonna get a report of the next few weeks, and it's gonna be like, hey, Giannis has given Milwaukee, a couple of teams, and it's Spurs or Houston could be in there. Brooklyn could be in there. and Miami's going to be one of the teams. And then it's going to come down to like, hey, you take Dame's contract, a deal centered around Bam and picks, different stuff. And I think he goes to Miami.
How upset are you if you're Damian Lillard that Giannis gets to go to Miami and you were dying to go to Miami?
I just think they go together, but yes, that would suck though. It's like Giannis is like, hey, have fun in the snowballs.
Them together is a lot of contract. That's like is that like $100 million in contract?
Yeah. Miami's got the money. They can do it.
We just recorded the mock draft, but spoiler alert, they traded for Kevin Durant in our mock draft.
They could do that too.
It didn't even include a pick. I was cracking up so hard. I was like, guys, this is not even in the mock draft. And I'm like, it's fine. As the commissioner, I accepted it. Also, all right, I'm the commissioner and the GM of the Mavs, and that's probably not good for our mock draft. But
I did the video for our pick.
It's fair. Also with Giannis on the Spurs or the Rockets, like they have they have assets they could send. They have some contracts they could send to. They had the state tax thing that he's mentioned before. They also have win now players that he would want. It does get you to the West, but sometimes you can't pick you can't pick the exact right situation for you all the time, because right now there's only certain teams that can trade, right? Like you get hard capped or second apron and all that.
Yeah.
And I'm also imagining like a croissant with like a Euro sandwich inside a croissant. Like, sounds great.
All right. I got a couple Mavs ones.
All right, I'm ready.
Here's a small one. The Mavs shouldn't run the all green retro back.
They shouldn't run the all green retro back. No, they definitely should. Why not?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I think they should do the like white blue based one with the green accent. We've already done the green. I think the all green one. Yeah, I think I would just go a different route. Let me do my real Mavs one though. And I'm saving.
You're really okay with the green? You just kind of made that up, or
no? It's okay, but there's other retro looks I'd prefer.
So were you lying until right now? Because this is your real one.
No. You do ad reads all the time, so don't talk to me about lying.
I did an audit of our ad reads. The amount of hosts that say things.
All right, I'm saving this for the 27 mark of the podcast.
That's the part that's not on KFAA. Shout out to KFAA. We're on every day at 4:30.
Yeah. The return for Luka was worse than trading Luka. I mean, yes.
So the return the Mavs got was worse than the actual act of trading Luka.
Yeah.
I don't think that's that hot. I think we thought that the day of the trade.
You think most Mavs fans would agree with that?
No, I think you and I thought that the day of the trade. We talked about it.
Okay.
But I don't think most Mavs fans would agree with you.
Yeah, because I think the sentiment with most Mavs fans is like, hey, you can never trade Luka.
But like, I always had in the back of my mind, this is going to end somehow, right? Like I didn't see him as a guy that would stay for as long as Dirk, not because of him, but because I thought something would happen. They wouldn't offer him the Supermax. Like we heard that they weren't going to, apparently. And then all of a sudden that turns into a whole saga. And then eventually he would get traded or something. I didn't think they would do it the way they did. Oof.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. You got more? I have a bunch of random ones I could find.
Durant gets traded to the Timberwolves.
Yeah. No, that's what I said.
For Randall and stuff. And then we get to see Kevin Durant play with Rudy Gobert, which is going to be very funny to me.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Remember when Kevin Durant called out Rudy Gobert?
KD and Ant together would be a lot of fun.
Great, yeah. And that's another score that they need.
All right, here's some random ones. Reviews are good.
Reviews in the game?
Yep.
You like all of them. You're fine with every single review that happens, the length of them and everything.
No. Because I think you got to like either be pro or anti reviews. I think the horse is already out of the barn. I don't think there's any way they can go back to not having reviews.
No, can't go
because
back.
Everybody will lose people already lose their mind right now. But can you imagine if they just came out like this offseason and said, hey, we want to, come back to some of the integrity of the game and the ending of games. And we really just want it to be like it used to be and not slow it down and all this stuff. Every wrong decision would just be, amplified even more. And there would be even worse bad calls and people would be losing their collective mind over that.
The worst thing Yeah, the worst part about it is that they would still show the replay on TV. That's the thing. If they're going to do anything, is just make the TV partners stop showing replays on TV.
Oh,
then who would know?
Then people would just rewind it and then Zapruder
sure,
film
they're going to go
and-
through the effort, but you might as well not hand it to them on a silver platter. Like, hey, here's a way to talk.
And then we're gonna get like money under the table for the Hawk Cam and
Cosm. People pay Cosm like a ton of money because they do their own replay for their own set camera they have.
All right, can I rapid fire on some?
The Celtics window is closed.
Go, whoa. I'm not ready to put the nail in the coffin yet.
I just think
definitely not next year.
It's gonna be so hard for them to retool. What assets are they gonna have? Like when Tatum comes back, like Drew Holiday's not gonna be as effective. Or gone. You're gonna have Porzingis is gone or not healthy. Horford is a free agent this summer and he's probably gone. Like it's gonna be
retired.
Them two and Derek White and Peyton Pritchard maybe. Like to retool now is just, especially when they're in the aprons, like they're gonna start to feel the effects now. And like I just think it's gonna be too hard to add enough pieces around them.
Yeah, I think it all depends on how good Tatum is when he comes back. I'd still bet on.
I would say even if
a Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, I'd still think that's pretty good in the East. Here's one regarding that. The second apron is good. One of my favorite things right now that's happening across like media and social media is media and fans of the teams that are suffering from the second apron putting out like statements, tweets, and stories on they got to change the rules. They have to change them. I mean, I've heard Bill Simmons do this. I've seen different people in other contending teams that's like, they got to change it. Like, what kind of teams do you want to like incentivize? Huh? Adam Silver? And it's like, I've yet to see any of those statements from like Hornets fans or like the Wizards or anybody from media in those markets.
No Mavs fans have been complaining about the second apron.
No, I haven't seen any of that. So it's just funny to me that there's a reason why the second apron is there. There's a reason why we have had some parity over the past few seasons, and I think we're probably going to have more in the future, and I think that's fine.
I don't think we know if it's good or not yet. We really haven't seen it. We're in like what? We're in year 2 of it. We haven't really even seen the second year apron effects really affect, because teams are going to start getting their draft picks frozen and things like that. There's a lot of stuff that comes with it. And
I just think it forces some of these teams to like trade some. Like, what if Utah goes out and trades for Jaylen Brown this offseason? And, Danny Ainge, Austin Ainge, all this stuff. And it's like, Boston's not trading him if there wasn't a second apron, but Utah would never get a Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, but doesn't that suck? Doesn't as much as I don't like the Celtics.
I don't think it sucks.
Wouldn't that suck if you had these homegrown talents that you got, you win a finals, and then you got to trade one of them just because of cap and money and like.
Welcome OKC. This is gonna be.
They're gonna be able to keep all of them. They'll keep all three. Everybody. No, all three of their main guys though.
I think the Spurs should trade De'Aaron Fox.
We talked about this in the mock draft that in the mock draft, Jeff Locked On Spurs picked Dylan Harper. Everybody thinks they're gonna pick Dylan Harper, but all of a sudden now you have Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox, and Stephon Castle and Vassell. You're like, that's just a weird backcourt. Like it's 4 really good guards.
Timeline hive, come out of your shelters, because that is case in point right there that the timelines do not match. The timeline.
Yeah, but Wemby is like a timeline bridge, and Flagg could be this too. Is that he's good now and he'll be good in 10 years? It's like that is a timeline bridge where you like. And Castle's good right now.
I have rapid fire here. Pinsack was right.
You're done. You're done, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us.
No. Denver should trade Jamal Murray right now.
Okay.
And my last one is Wendy is right. People really don't want X's and O's.
I don't think they want that much X's and O's either.
They don't. And
no.
I mean, there's a reason why Zach Lowe was let go and Perkins and some of these guys are given big contracts, because people are drawn to the stupid hot takes. Like, I mean, they really are. Like, they're here for stupid comments.
Got our dumb YouTube titles.
But we have seen this over the years so much to where like we've talked about like, dude, we could go deeper on the pod and do some like sets and break down horns and veer screens, like, and like all these different stuff. But that doesn't get views in this market. And guys, views means money. And this is why ESPN does what they do. So like, I know it makes like the diehard NBA fans get really upset when it's like Wendy's like, dude, no one's going to listen. Like people aren't going to listen to X's and O's. I'm like, it sucks, but it's true. The things that get the most views is like rumors, speculation, crazy statements, and all that stuff. It's not breaking down a horn set that Dallas ran with Gafford and Kyler Kelly.
There are a lot of really good film breakdown type YouTube channels. I will say that.
And it's fun. I love consuming all that. But what gets the most views isn't that. And it sucks.
Interesting. Go back to the Pensac
anyway.
one. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. We'll have more.
Ronnie's going to be great.
More content for you all the rest of the week. Grade some more takes in the comments. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out. Boom. Ronnie, you better